Ellis B. Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
Usually play the original Swing and Sway arrangements.
And do you get, what sort of reaction are you getting? Let's take general overall reaction, and then we'll take the young reaction of people who never were familiar with the music in the first place.
Well, Jerry, first I must give you, I'll give you a isolated example of a job we played. We played out in Columbus Saturday for the Hope Ball. That's the ship, the Hope ship that they sent around the world for charity purposes, you know. And the people that were there were of up in the older age category, and so they react, perfectly to the things that we play. Occasionally, we do play what I would call pseudo rock, and the younger people, might dance to it to a certain extent, but we don't do very much of that.
And what is the reaction of young people to the music who are hearing it for the very first time?
We don't play enough of those type of parties. There will be some young people in our audience, I'm sure. I've seen them, but they are definitely in the minority.
So you don't get any immediate reaction from young people?
No, not sufficiently.
Mm-hmm.
I would say no.
What is the future of the Sammy Kaye Band today, Sammy? We'll talk about the times before, but today, what is the future for a band of that sort?
Well, the future is for us to continue working as long as the demand continues as strongly as it has, and particularly since it's increased considerably in the last year, I would say.
Is it a nostalgic thing? Is it people who remember the music again who are booking the Sammy Kaye Band? Is it sort of a Lawrence Welkish kind of audience? People.
That is, you hit it right on the head.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. They remember the Sammy Kaye Band, and they have functions. We play. Say we play country clubs, or we play conventions, or Kiwanis, Rotary, and things of that nature. And those people would be people in the age category that remember the big band.
And of course, that's a sizable segment of the audience today.
Tremendous, yes, it is.
Not too many people pay attention to that audience. I know we in radio are very concerned about the 18 to 45s, and the rock stations are concerned with the 16 to 30s. And the underground stations are concerned with the 12 to 20s.
Yeah.
But nobody except Welk and perhaps a couple of other television programs are concerned with older audiences feeling somehow they've spent themselves out. They don't have any money to spend. They're not consumers. And so why do we have to pay attention to them?
That's a very good question, and it puzzles me considerably, because I've talked, ever since Lawrence Welk became an important television program, I've talked to many advertising agency people, and when it first started, Jerry, their entire approach to his success was that it's a freak. But in the meantime, it went from ABC television to syndication, and I don't know how much he increased it, but we all know that he increased the number of stations that carry his program by a good percentage.
And what's the possibility of the Sammy Kaye Band doing one and the same thing?
As a matter of fact, we are in discussion right now about doing a Sammy Kaye half-hour show, perhaps featuring "So You Want to Lead a Band." I don't know whether you remember that.
Oh, I certainly do.
And there's a little bit of interest in it. We're debating whether we should try to approach it from a network standpoint of view, or contemplate syndication.
It sounds like fun.
I think it would be great.
It does sound like fun. It sounds like, again, people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s would appreciate the kind of music, would look upon it. Some people would look upon it with nostalgia. Others would enjoy the music as is. And the So You Want to Lead a Band feature, I think, was a fun feature. I remember it quite distinctly.
As a matter of fact, in playing one-nighters now, Jerry, it's a must in our contract that we do So You Want to Lead a Band, because, as you say, so many people remember it, and it's as much fun today as the very first time I ever did it.
Now let's do a little bit of nostalgia now. What's happened to some of the old members of the original Sammy Kaye Band, the people with whom we are most familiar? For instance, now singing musically for you, Tommy Ryan.
Tommy Ryan. I haven't heard about Tommy, Jerry, in quite a while. I have no idea what Tommy's doing.
Last I heard, he was doing something in Chicago. Was he in Chicago at the time?
I really don't know.
As an insurance broker, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And what about some of the other people who sang with the band?
Don Cornell.
Don Cornell. It isn't fair for you to want me.
That is right, Jerry, my boy. Well, Don is still continuing to do very well as a single, and I read about him quite often about being in Las Vegas at the Stardust Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that he goes back there at least a couple of times a year. I haven't heard of him out here in the East recently, but I know that he continues being very active.
I hear his voice occasionally on those albums they're selling
Yeah, that's
on
right.
television, and you hear Don Cornell booming in there. He's easily recognizable. You know immediately who he is.
Well, especially when the old maestro says, "And now these lovely words" by Don Cornell.
Right. That was that the big record, Sammy?
It isn't fair. It's interestingly enough, Jerry. Don was such a nice fellow and worked very hard, and I was very, very fond of Don. And he had made quite a good name with the Swing and Sway band. And I finally said to Don, Don, it's about time you start thinking about going out on your own because, you want to continue to further your career. You just don't want to be a band singer all your life. I think you should think about going out alone. And so I encouraged him to do this, and I said, we'll do one more recording with the band and then get out there and see how well you can do by yourself. And the song we recorded was "It Isn't Fair," the biggest record he ever made with our band.
And how about the band itself? Was that was that one of the top 5 records with the band?
Yes, that along with "Daddy" and "Harbor Lights" are the 3 big ones that are the 3 biggest records we ever made.
Can you name a few others beyond that? Because each one of those particular tunes recalled something to someone. Harbor Lights, Daddy, which I really, truly remember.
Yeah.
It Isn't Fair. What else?
Oh, we go on with "Wandering," "Babyface." Let me see. When you talk about the bigger ones, we had a number of hits in the country and western with "Room Full of Roses" and "Roses." I can't recall them all.
Well, just that, I think, probably is up into the millions of records. What about other singers who were with the organization? Weren't there some girls?
Yeah, but none of them ever went on to further their career after they left the band, Jerry. We never had a big name girl singer. The biggest, the biggest girl we had as far as our record was concerned was Betty Barclay, who recorded a song called "I'm a Big Girl Now."
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And that was a big record for us and for her, but she never did follow a singing career. I think
Weren't there, in those days, so-called scat singers, Tony Pastor kind of singers, who were affiliated with Sammy Kaye, who didn't do the romantic songs?
No, we never had a good scat singers. Nobody of that nature. No, we never did, Jerry.
I think in every one of the bands, there was that type of singer. Butch Stone with the Les Brown Band, if you remember, and Tony Pastor himself, and who was with Artie Shaw for a while. But your band never included one of those.
No, strangely enough, now that you mention it, we never did have one. The trio usually did all the up things that we did, you see. And of course, we did have a couple of instrumentalists that sang very well. Charlie Wilson was one of our original singers, and he was a saxophone player. And also Billy Williams was a saxophone player and sang very, very well with us. Matter of fact, he's the one that wrote "Where the Mountains Meet the Sky," and then recorded it with us, and it was a pretty big hit for us.
Well, the band was organized in what year?
I left college in 1933 I left Ohio University with a college band called the Ohioans at that time, and later on we fell on the Swing and Sway title.
Which came into its prominence at what time?
About 1937, 38, we were broadcasting in Cleveland, and we used to rhyme things with my name, and one of the things that we used was Swing and Sway, and shortly after that, some kids came in to the place where we were playing, a place called Cabin Club, and they saw me and said, "Hi, Swing and Sway." When I heard that, I dropped everything else. We used to say, "Music in a Romantic Way played for you by Sammy Kaye. Music in a Rhythmic Way played for you by Sammy Kaye." So when I heard that, I said, "Gee, if they remember that that well. That's the end of everything else. From now on, everything was swing and sway with Sammy.
And the prominence of the band extended for how many years? That is the peak of the period of the Sammy Kaye Band.
I would say middle 50s, about in there.
And then came the so-called rock and roll movement.
That is correct.
And the movement away from the so-called bands or sweet music.
That's right.
Do you find any people today dancing together other than old people?
No, I haven't played enough affairs of that nature, Jerry. We don't play, for instance, we don't play college dances. When we had, strangely enough, the last time I recall playing for young kids was, I think, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I forget when. We recorded a song called Charade.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing was in the top 40s on rock and roll stations, which certainly I never dreamed would happen. And we were hired for a high school dance in St. Louis. And outside of Charade, I didn't know what else to play for them.
Yeah, I think it was a period of during the peak of the Sammy Kaye influence upon the musical world when other bands were aping what you were doing. For instance, Blue Baron.
Yes, oh yeah, Blue made a success by following our style. Yes, he did.
I remember him from the Hotel Edison's Green Room.
That's right, music of yesterday and today.
Now you know how old I am, right? And there was another band. I'm sure he blossomed out into his own because of the personality of the orchestra leader, Kay Kaiser.
That's right.
Kay had a similar sound to the band, but Kay, in and of himself, was a personality.
Oh yes, he was a great personality. That musical college of knowledge was a very, very big program for him.
But what other bands were there that had similar sounds at that time that were, influenced by your impact on the music world?
Well, I don't know whether they were influenced by our impact, but there were a number of sweet bands around. Greg Gordon and his TikTok.
Oh yes, Greg Gordon.
Matter of fact, I was with Greg yesterday. Ran into him at the Schubert Theater. The Steel Pier in Atlantic City put together this band, and they're appearing here in New York for 4 weeks or something like that. And it's really a great show in which they play the original arrangements of many bands.
That sounds great.
And it was very, very well received, and I got a big kick out of it.
It's Tommy Tucker time.
Tommy Tucker, that's right. Yes.
Another band that sounded, had similar sounds.
That's right.
Well, that was a great period. I'm wondering whether or not there is a period coming back to where people will dance with each other. I still find that discotheques, and I like the music of today. Do you have a good feel for something the things like the Carpenters are doing and the Burt Bacharach music? That has great appeal for me.
Well, now you're talking about good music when you say Burt Bacharach.
Sure, yeah.
That's some very, very good music.
But it's contemporary.
Also, the Beatles have written some great music.
Right.
Matter of fact, we recorded a number of the Beatle things, and also Bacharach. So that's fine music. But of course, by and large, the rock and roll music, as is played on what we call the top 40 stations, that's not my style.
But all that music of the Bacharach idea has been influenced by it seems to me, rock artists or the Beatles or whatever, and they borrow little things here and there and make it pretty music. The music.
Yes, they do. And it's applicable to many styles of arranging, for instance, you see. But as I say, the real rock and roll strong things are pretty tough to change into, say, for our band to play. And to write it out for an instrumentation of brass and saxes.
Can you remember one instance in your entire career that stands out? One appearance, one performance, one something that you never have quite forgotten?
Well, I know the most important thing that happened to me in my career. It was at Bill Green's Casino in Pittsburgh. We played there one summer. 37, someplace in there. We were in there for a couple of weeks, and Bill Green liked to play golf, and so did I. And the band was just sort of struggling along. And so Bill and I got to be pretty good friends during the 2 weeks I was there. He said, "Why don't you come back for the whole winter season?" I said, "Gee, Bill, I'd love to do that." And the only reason he asked me, I think, I'm sure, is because we like to play golf together. And so we went back there, and we were very fortunate at that time to start doing network broadcasts from there, and we did for 6 months. And I recall our salary. I think we were getting $350 a week for the whole band. Now, that's during the Depression, too.
Big money, big money.
Yes, sir. But what happened, Jerry, is after we got through with that engagement, we went out and played some one-nighters, and we played one of the big ballrooms that was very famous at that time in Pottstown, Sunnybrook Ballroom, and I think I went in there for a guarantee of $200 for the night or something like that, against 60%, and walked out with $1,800 as my percentage. And MCA at that time were booking me and didn't even know who I was. And when the check went in for the percentage, well, then they chased all over the country trying to find me to find out who this guy was that played Sunnybrook Ballroom and took out that kind of money, you see. And so I say that the engagement at Bill Green's Casino was very, very important because at that time, boy, I'll tell you, we didn't know where our next job was going to come from.
I remember back, I think it was 1948, I was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I was a disc jockey, but I was also promoting dances on the outside, and we booked Lawrence Welk at that time in 48 for $1,200. And guess what? We lost money.
You did?
You see, that was a polka town, and when we booked Frankie Yankovic, why, we jammed the place, and I think we paid for Frankie Yankovic $500.
Yeah.
And we had a fantastic success of that particular dance. But when Welk came in, and he was known at that time as playing a lot of polkas, he just simply didn't strike it. He wasn't authentic enough, for the polka enthusiasts.
Yeah. Well, Yankovic is a polka band, and everybody knows it.
Right.
But that's, I guess there are many, many stories like that.
I'd like to, we hear often from some disc jockeys and from some who keep reiterating the old phrase, bring back the big bands. I'm not one of those who says bring back the big bands, because there are some bands around that I still listen to, still enjoy listening to. They mainly are recording. There are not too many of them, playing the so-called ballrooms, but there are still plenty of bands around on recordings if you want to listen to it. So I never think about bringing back the past. I only think about the future. But what is the advent of ever, going through that period again of bands, ballrooms, with the kind of music that is perhaps contemporary?
You mean the big bands playing contemporary music?
Well, just big bands, rather than looking upon it as a nostalgic thing. We understand that. But, on the road again and getting into ballrooms and people dancing and/or listening. I know that Kenton plays concerts and jams the place. But those are people who are, again, listening for nostalgia purposes.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, first of all, what we need is exposure for new bands. There aren't that many bands around now. I contradict you what you said.
Mm-hmm.
You can, on one hand, you can name the bands that are of the big band era that have name value that are still around.
No, there's still Count Basie. He still plays, and there was, up to a point, Ted Heath, Duke Ellington. Yes, you could name them on the fingers of one hand. I'm not indicating there are a lot of them, but how many were there in those days?
Well, they were right here in New York. When I first came to New York, we followed Tommy Dorsey in the Commodore Hotel, and right next door at the Biltmore, Horace Height was playing, and Lombardo next door at the Roosevelt Hotel. Glenn Miller was at the Pennsylvania.
That was really the entertainment of the day, wasn't it?
That was it. Oh, sure. And you could go any place. Then we'd go to Harlem and see Cat Calloway at the Cotton Club.
The bands, in and of themselves, were entertaining groups. They had different. Besides just playing dance music, they had people within the organization that would entertain.
That's right.
Do different sorts of things. So when you went to the Hotel Pennsylvania to see the Miller Orchestra, you really saw an entertainment for the entire night.
Well, look at the Tommy Dorsey band with the Pied Pipers and so forth. Or were they with him, or were they with that Glenn Miller? I forget.
No, they were with Tommy Dorsey.
Yeah.
Right.
And at one time, I had 6 singers. I had 3 male singers and 3 girl singers out in front,
And you did entertaining things. I remember the comedy things the Sammy Kaye band used to do, too.
All bands had a little bit of that, It was just not just playing dance music and so forth. But what we need now to ever bring back the big band sound is a chance for exposure for young bands. There are a lot of fine young musicians a lot of them around. But gee, there's just no place for them to play, no chance of broadcasting like we used to broadcast. You see, that was
That's right.
That was the way that that new bands were made right then. And furthermore, to record, the record companies are now recording big bands, and so if we can't broadcast, at least the bands have to have a chance to make a hit record that might be played on the radio stations. And that's not happening, you see.
You know, there is a trend. I'm not sure of how strong this trend is in, FM radio, to play just band music.
Uh-huh.
Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not.
Just a couple of stations around the country that are beginning to play so-called band music, not only of vintage quality, but up to date as well. And it is gathering some ratings. You know, that might be a trend of the future, and if that happens, you know, it could kick off a nationwide interest in band music again.
There's no question about it. No question about it, Jerry.
What are you recording, Sammy?
My last album was with Project, with Enoch Light, Project 3 or whatever it is.
Yeah, let me say to you that I want to commend you and Enoch Light for the kind of recording you're doing. It is very exciting recording.
Well, Enoch is a very meticulous man, and he's done some outstanding things in the recording field, and I'm delighted to be associated with him.
Absolutely. I think Enoch Light is one of the geniuses of our time in making music acceptable to everybody, making it contemporary, making the recordings of high quality, and utilizing good music.
That's right.
He really is a very exciting person. And what did you record under this dome, so to speak?
I beg your pardon?
What did you record?
Oh, everything is beautiful. We've only just begun. We did the Miller High Life commercial. If you've got the time, I've got the place.
Uh-huh.
Some of the pop things that were out at that time, the record has been out about 3 months, I think. So things that were popular maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Now, what label is that now?
Project 3.
Project 3. Well, we're going to listen to some of that, Sammy.
Sure.
Let me thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it. I'm an old fan of yours.
Well,
and as a matter of fact, I even go back to the days of Hal Kemp.
Oh, great.
Hal Kemp was one of my in my little old heart, one of my favorite bands, and I remember the days of Skinny Ennis, and I remember the scat singer, Boop Boop Did'em Dot'em Wad'em Chew.
Yeah.
Saxy Dowell.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Saxy Dowell.
Why didn't you ever have a scat singer, Sammy?
I don't know. It's very strange that I guess we were just a romantic band, you know. But I remember Hal Kemp, the first time I came to New York, and he was at the Astor Roof, and I went up to see him because he was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And, of course, at that time, we were just struggling around, as I told you, in our early days, and I was sitting, I don't know who I was with. I said, one of these days, we'll be playing here at the Astor Roof, and we finally made it.
Shep Fields and his rippling rhythm.
That's right.
Shep is still around. I think he's in the booking field with his son Freddie.
Yes, I don't think he's active with the band anymore.
No, I don't think he is. But it was a very unique band at the time. Shep Fields and his rippling rhythm.
That's right.
For those who don't recall that at all, they used to blow into a little soda thing with a straw to kind of get things going.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether Lawrence Welk was ever influenced by that idea.
It's very interesting because he does a thing with the champagne.
Right.
But although he doesn't blow into a thing, does he? He just makes the
no, they have a bubble machine.
Yeah.
But the basic sound of the band when they play the so-called champagne music is very reminiscent of old Shep Fields' rippling rhythm recordings.
Very much. The clarinet work is sort of like the accordion that Shep Fields used to use.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I really have enjoyed this. When, if ever, will you come to Boston?
I'll be there on the 22nd of October.
And what's the occasion?
It's some affair at the Sheraton Hotel. As I recall on the contract, it says the Prudential, wherever the...
Yes, that's in the Sheraton Boston Hotel.
Yeah.
With a full band?
Oh, yes.
It's a private affair, though, right?
Yes, it's a private affair.
Oh, dear. I'd like to come in and hear it.
Well, Jerry, be my guest. I'll be there. We're working from the 8 to 11.
Good. I'm very happy to talk to you, Sammy. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you in Boston on that night, too.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Nice to talk to you, and I hope we'll be around Boston much more.
Thank you.
Thank you.